welcome to our channel. If this is your first time here, this is the Road to Waifu, where Eric, my
Um,
co-host, and I,
this th- this is this is everyone's first time here. This is episode 1, dude.
when they're watching this episode. So, um, just just let me do the introduction.
Well, if you do it right, then that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay. So, welcome everybody, including my co-host Eric.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
we're gonna be talking about Takopi's original sin today, and we have what we think is gonna be a fun and engaging conversation for everybody. We don't know how long we're gonna talk for, but hopefully you'll come along for the ride. Um,
It'll be a 17-hour podcast episode.
Amazing.
Just assuming.
So if you guys have a long road trip coming up and you don't know what you want to do,
That's exactly 17 hours.
that's exactly.
Otherwise, you should just leave.
Okay, so Takopi's original sin, it was first a manga that was published in 2021, I believe. Right, Eric?
Yes.
I think it was 2021. And
Is it
the
2021 or 2022?
check ourselves. The according to Wikipedia, the Shonen so in Shonen Jump Plus, the first chapter came out December 2021 and continued until
Gotcha.
March 2022.
Only
So
because they specified 2022 as a year in the series, so that's why it didn't make sense that 2021. But if it's December, that's fine. Close enough.
we will talk about the setting of the story momentarily. But so the manga came out 2021. Um, the anime recently concluded, I believe, this past week. So today is August 8th, as of the recording of this. I don't know when we're going to post it, but today is August 8th. I believe the last episode came out this week. Um, so we're going to talk about both the manga and the anime, if there are any differences between the two. But before that, we wanted to talk briefly about the enigmatic author. So the author's name, or I guess pen name, is Taizan 5. I did a little bit of digging and couldn't find actually too much about the author. He seems to
Did you happen to look to see if there was a different series under Taizan 4, 3, 2, or 1?
be actually, but let's check that now. Taizan.
It's a pen name, dude. Like, that's just a bad joke. That's not me telling you to Google that.
You never know.
Okay.
Uh, there's not too much information about him. He has published a number of other series, although based on the readings that I've done, this was his first series. So 2021 was the first time we ever saw this author publish anything, and it was with Takopi. So yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say about the guy.
Has he made any more series since?
Not Takopi, but he has penned a number of other stuff. There's one notable title that keeps coming up, which is the Ichinose Family's
Hmm.
Deadly Sin. Um, I don't know anything about that. I actually only found out about this author with Takopi. So, as far as other titles go, I should have written this down because I did look this up. Let's see. Bear with me. Here we
I
go.
didn't realize that was such a hard hitting question. My bad.
I just didn't keep up the information. So Takopi's original sin was his first, followed by the Ichinose family's deadly sin, Kiss Shitai Otoko, Hero Complex, and most recently Hanareta Futari. are titles that he has published. Um, Hanareta Futari was published last year, 2024, and I don't actually know if that has concluded or if that's ongoing. I think it's ongoing.
Gotcha.
Think. Get in the chat and fact check me, guys.
So, with that note, should we get right into the series?
Yeah, Eric has a whole thing
So,
lined up.
so, this is gonna be super spoilery. So, if you haven't actually watched the series, we recommend it.
Yeah. So, before we dive into it, spoiler alert, and Taco Peas does handle some pretty dark topics, some pretty dark subject matter. So this is your content warning. Um, if if the if things like suicidality, depression, anxiety are triggering for you, we would suggest clicking off now.
Leave, get out, come back next episode. It'll probably be something a little more fun, or it won't. All right, so jumping right into it, Chapter 1 is titled To You in 2016. We meet the titular character, Takopi, as a sort of shadowy creature in a pipe. But, it turns out he's just an adorable little guy. He's really cute. We find out he's a Happian whose real name is spelled NNU space ANU KF. Morgan, real quick, how do you pronounce that?
Question. In
It's it's
something
obviously new on.
like Juhabak. Like I don't even want to try and pronounce it.
Fair enough. We also meet the one of the main characters, Shizuka, who's a fourth grader. She becomes friends with Takopi because she gave him bread, and because she can't pronounce that god awful name, she names him Takopi.
No
They have a.
objections. Taco P
I mean,
accepts.
it does. It makes sense. So we see that as she's leaving, that her bag is heavily graffitied with just insults. So we already know that things aren't going great for her.
Yeah.
But as thanks, Takubi does give her one of the happy gadgets, and I love the happy gadgets because they are silly and fun, like the flappy wingies, which allow you to fly the sky, which it will come up.
Gadgets are very whimsical. They're very what I like about them is that they're very simple and to any like normal sane individual, they would be super fun things. But
I mean,
against
it's
the
it's
background
basically Doraemon gadgets if none of Doraemon's gadgets actually worked.
way to put it.
Well, actually, no, that's incorrect. The what's it called? The patch it up ribbon does work. It is unbreakable.
Gadgets work. I don't necessarily know what you mean by that. But they don't
We'll get into it. We'll get into
they
it.
yeah, I mean like they don't I guess they don't work against
Okay,
the
I guess.
backdrop of the
Okay, well,
series.
I guess this is sort of the spoilery section, so we don't have to go timeline. Excuse me. We find out later the flappy wings do let you fly for about 10 seconds before you plummet to the earth.
That's explained by it having a weight limit because Happians are quite small. So for scale, just so that for anyone who hasn't seen the series and doesn't mind spoilers, Taco P is very, very small. Think the size of like a large gerbil. He's not all that big, and the Happian gadgets are made for Happians. So when a human uses it, even
Are
if
they though? Because we see that the which one is it? Boop, 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 boop. The memory box, it is a large item.
Can change size.
Yes.
Right. I don't, so that seems to be a feature of that particular gadget. Whereas a feature of the Happy and Wing seems to be that it has a weight limit because Happians, I'm guessing, are a particular size and weight.
Which is weird because the mama is on the larger side.
We actually never see the mama. We see
Yes, but we see the tentacle, so we can like sort of scale up.
I actually think that we see some sort of like manifestation of the mom's persona and not the actual because it's when we see the tentacle, it's very cloudy. It's like a cloud-like structure. Um, so unless you want to make the argument that adult Happians are giant cloud entities, which I'm
I'm gonna be honest. If we could have an entire conversation about what the genetics and biology of a Happian can be, but we'll just move on from that point because it's unclear. We
to
don't.
have that
They're not the
discussion,
focus.
but
They're
there
not.
are
They're not the focus.
there, there's no real indication even at the end of this series what Happians really are. So even the idea that um Takopi is an octopus is technically not true because I mean he looks like an octopus, but obviously or he, she,
I
it.
mean,
We don't even know what gender Takopi is.
they.
They.
Well, it's like how Goku looks like a human, but he's a Saiyan. Anyway, so one of the days that they meet, so Shizuka keeps bringing him bread after school every day, and they take a picture with the happy camera. And one thing that she does say is that the happy camera is very heavy, which comes into play a little bit later.
Comes into play the whole situation, the taking the picture, the the mechanism that took the picture.
Everything. The happy camera is the most important happy gadget. Oh,
It plays a
yeah,
central role in the plot.
maybe second most, because that would be the big happy clock. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, Morgan's having technical difficulties. Hold for technical
Okay, he's talking.
difficulties.
He's talking. He's talking. He's talking. I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay. Technical
I think you
difficulties.
can't. You can't lean back. I think that's the problem.
Oh, is it? Okay. I won't lean.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, the big clock on Planet Happy is technically not a happy gadget.
Yes, it is.
It's not described as a happy gadget. It's described as an integral function of Happy Planet. He's fact checking me, guys.
Yes, it's a happy gadget. I literally just reread it last night just to prepare for this.
But
I might have. I might have the screenshot.
my
It's fine.
argument isn't that the big clock is the most important gadget or that the camera is the most important gadget. My argument is actually that the happy and rope thing is the most important
The
gadget.
patch it up. The patch it up ribbon.
The patch it up room, yes. I think my opinion is that that is the most important gadget.
I disagree, but we'll talk about that when we get to that particular chapter. Anyway, so after we get introduced to the happy camera, we meet Chappie for the first time, which is an essential character in this, because we do find out that Chappie is. We also find out a little bit more about Shizuka's home life. Her mom escorts, her dad's not in the picture, and Chappie is probably the most important member of her family,
B is family dog.
which is adorable. Chappie is very cute, and then literally next panel we see her beaten, battered, bloody, and Chappie's collar is in her hand. So at this point in the story, we don't know what happened to Chappie, but we can't assume anything good happened to Chappie.
Actually, let's talk about that moment for a second because for me, this was actually a poignant moment. I don't know what you thought when you read or watched that part, but for me, I thought Chappie had been killed.
Yes. So a part of me thought, oh, they got hit by a car or something, because at this point we hadn't found out anything. We knew that she was getting bullied, but not to the extent that she's getting bullied.
Being bullied, we don't know the extent of it, and we just all we get is this sort of still image. Even in the anime, it's kind of this still image of just Shizuka standing with Chappie's collar in her hand and just absolutely disheveled. And my first thought is, damn, Chappie ate the dust. He's
Yeah,
gone.
he's gone. So here we get introduced to the patch it up ribbon, which is a way. The way it's supposed to work is that you tie both ends to two people's pinkies, and it extends infinitely without breaking. The idea is that eventually they have to come together and fix their problems.
And
However, oh no, go ahead.
this is again a very important idea um, for the series at large, and we'll obviously get more into it as we progress in the series. But hold in the back of your head this idea of being forced to come together to resolve your conflict, because that's the whole point of this ribbon, is it wants you to resolve conflict.
Yeah, and then we also find out that one of the laws of the Happians. There's not very many that get revealed, but one of the important ones is that you can only use a happy gadget in the presence of a Happian.
Takopi in episode 1.
Yeah, well, without doing that, I don't. Yeah, I mean, Takopi's very innocent as a character. Like everything's face value. It's basically having an infant that's actually able to talk.
Say, say that again?
It's basically having. It's like having an infant that's able to talk. That's just and
Yeah,
function.
like because Takopi is like so naive about things.
Yes.
Right. So I guess for a little bit more context, when Takopi presents this ribbon to Shizuka, Shizuka um, basically manipulates Takopi, for lack of a better word, into letting her take the ribbon without Takopi's supervision. And Takopi has this internal grappling of whether or not he does this because of the rule that's set forth by the Happians. He, as we just mentioned, relents and lets her take the ribbon. So I have a question for you, Eric. What were your thoughts about what Shizuko was going to do with the ribbon?
I mean, unfortunately, I watched it on Crunchyroll. I watched the anime for the first time, so I already knew what was happening because of that stupid disclaimer at the beginning. So there wasn't as much of a shock value.
Actually really fair. I honestly I did not even consider that. It's a fair point. There is that disclaimer
As
at the beginning,
as
so
soon as soon as I saw him say, because I read sub, this can extend without breaking. I was like, oh no.
see, I went in a different direction, and part of this is maybe because I do get like really into whatever I'm watching, so like I actually forgot about all that stuff. I thought she was gonna go and murder the people who have been bullying her.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that point.
Okay, spoilers. But that's needless to say, that's not how I thought episode 1 was going to end. I think the suicide surprised me in the sense that it came a lot quicker than I thought it was going to.
Fair. Yeah, it's very shocking.
That's how episode 1 ends, guys.
Yeah, that's how episode one ends.
Is
I mean,
Takopi
like,
finds
I recognize that we just spent like a good amount of time on episode one, but it's like setting up a lot of the context of the series now.
it's yeah, it definitely sets up a lot. And so episode one ends with Takopi gets worried that she hasn't or that it hasn't seen Shizuka for a number of days. So Takopi goes to search for Shizuka, finds Shizuka at her house,
No,
and
it's not even a couple days; it's a few hours.
oh, is it? I thought it was a couple days.
Yeah, no, it's just a few hours because he gets work. They get worried that they just go to check on her, and even then they don't even realize she killed herself. Initially, they're like, "Oh, that's not how you use it. Let me take that off you so I can teach you." And then it's like, "Oh, wait, she's dead, dead."
Incredible naivete of this Appian. It really sinks in, I feel like, at the end of episode one of just how utterly clueless this character is. Because like any one of us would see that scene and be like, oh no. But Taco P's just obsessively positive point of view on everything makes him just be like, oh no, let me actually show you how to use it right. And doesn't even register what's happening.
Hmm. So that is chapter one. Uh, oh no, sorry. We find out that the happy camera can reset the timeline to whenever the picture was taken.
We find that out at the beginning of episode two, though, don't we?
Yes. So in the original series, according to my notes, it's at the end of chapter one. So that sort of like signals the audience that hey, the series is going to continue. It's not just a one shot.
Interesting. So episode one is equivalent to chapter one.
Yes, and then a little bit into chapter episode two would be still chapter one, but
Actually crazy because typically in anime adaptations, there's a number of chapters that go into a single episode of anime, usually because manga chapters are arguably quite short. They're usually 19 to 24 pages, which obviously is not going to be an entire episode of anime, so typically it has to be more than one
these
chapter.
chapters are actually on the longer side. They're in the 40 plus range.
That's crazy. Okay. That's nuts.
I mean, even though there's only 16 chapters, 18 if you count the omake, it's still great that they decided not to extend it and only do the 6 episode run for the anime.
Okay, so we start episode two still in chapter one. So in chapter
Yes.
one, we get that reveal of Takopi can well, reset the timeline, I feel like is poor phrasing because he literally travels back in time to that moment. And then obviously time progresses forward as it naturally would, but Takopi has the knowledge of what had happened and can make different decisions this time around.
Correct. Everyone else's mental state is the same though, so it's closer to the time travel Steins Gate employs. So chapter two, Takopi has reset the timeline. He knows that Shizuka is trying to kill herself at some point. So because of when the picture was taken, they're able to reset far enough where there's a little bit of time before the event happens. So Takopi volunteers to go to school with
4
Shizuka.
days. Because there's a countdown in
Yeah,
episode two of like how long Takopi has. And that's sort of the drama of episode two is Takopi's literally counting the days for how long he has to fix this. And I believe it's 4 days if I remember correctly.
correct. So there are, and then every time Shizuka runs into trouble, they reset the timeline and then help her solve some ordinary problems like, oh, you don't know the math problem, or oh, you didn't finish your lunch. So by my count, because I'm doing a reset count, that is 5 resets as of this chapter.
Sort of point out is the um what's the word that I'm looking for? The futility with which Taco P is attempting to solve the issue. And obviously, Taco P doesn't understand the futility because of his naive approach to everything, because he doesn't understand anything. And he's trying to solve external issues. So he thinks that Shizuka ends up how she ends up because of very arguably benign things, like unable to answer a math problem, which causes her classmates to tease her, or not eating for lunch, which I don't remember exactly what the circumstances around that were, but again,
The girl's
results
getting bullied no matter what she does.
right.
And then stuff like losing her notebook, that's another
That's
reset.
another
Losing her
reset.
bag, that's another reset. So technically, there's four resets as of this particular conversation. The fifth reset happens when she gets confronted by Marina, who is the sort of main bully that we meet during this chapter. And Takopi is like, oh, I can try to be friends with Marina, and uses the transformation palette to transform into Marina. Or, sorry, transforms into Shizuka, then goes to talk to Marina. However, as soon as
Wait, that
Takopi talks,
don't glance over that. That's important. Or that moment's important for Takopi because there's a moment where Takopi is interacting with Shizuka and Shizuka is um uh telling Takopi that like she's afraid to go and talk to
yes,
Marina. And because Shizuka knows what's going to happen, but Takopi doesn't. And Takopi's very confused as to why Shizuka doesn't want to go and talk to Marina because, as far as Takopi knows and understands, talking is the only way to solve your problems. So Takopi is trying to encourage Shizuka to go and talk to Marina in order to smooth things out, but Shizuka knows she's been getting bullied by Marina for a long time, and she knows how that interaction is going to play out. So she doesn't want to go and talk to Marina. So Takopi, in an effort to help Shizuka, takes Shizuka's form using one of the happy gadgets and confronts Marina on Shizuka's behalf.
and then Takopi gets the ever loving shit beat out of him.
Yeah, like just totally Pound Town, not great at all. Dirt, everything, blood, tears, the whole works.
Yeah, and it's we met Marina a little bit in chapter one. This is the first time we really, really meet her. This is the fifth reset of the series.
This is this is where I would argue Takopi actually starts to realize some things. Like he starts to learn. He doesn't through actions really make any changes to his approach because he's a joy buff. He's like a I forget what the actual term. There's a psychological term for it. They're like happiness buffs or something like that. Like despite everything that happens, their pursuit is the pursuit of joyousness or happiness for themselves and the people around them. So, but this moment, there is a moment for Taco P where or at least my opinion was that I thought that he like sort of realized that things weren't that simple. And Taco P makes a decision that even though it's not simple, he's going to continue on his mission.
I think he suspects that things aren't as simple now. I don't think until the end of the series he realizes how difficult things are. He starts
Sure.
learning though.
Right, yeah. And we'll get to that because he has a whole conversation with Azuma that is very eye-opening for Taco P. But there is a there at least in the anime, I don't know how it was portrayed in the manga. Eric's our manga expert, but at least in the anime, there's a moment when Marina's beating the crap out of Taco P where you kind of get this sense that Taco P is like, what is happening? I don't understand.
Yes, it's very so the manga and the anime are very one to one. Um Reading the manga sort of like gave me more insight only because it was the anime adds a few scenes here or there because there's just no way of like adapting this one to one without just having maybe 3 episodes, which doesn't really work in terms of an anime format, just rushing through all the dialogue.
Quick on that topic because anime adaptations are arguably difficult because you're taking a written form and putting it into a visual context. And there was an interview that I read that was with the director of the anime. series. And one of the things that the director had talked about in this interview was that they wanted certain concepts from the manga to really sink in, or to not sink in because it's not like the series is forcing you to feel a certain way, but to allow you to sit in certain moments. So I don't know exactly how this played out in the manga, but let's say that Takopi is getting beaten up by Marina for one or two panels. In the anime, this goes on for a little bit.
Oh no, it's several pages in the manga.
Okay, well, so then that's probably not a good example. There is one example later on that the director talks about, which I guess, I mean, like, we've already spoiled a whole bunch about the series. So fast forward a little bit to the end. There's a moment where um, Shizuka is holding Takopi's hand, and this is like way later. This is like in episode 6. And the director is talking specifically about how in the manga, it's one panel. I think it's like it's one of those full
It's one
panels,
page.
but it's one,
It's a page.
right. And she talks about in the interview that like she wanted this moment, she really wanted this moment to be a little bit more in the anime so that the audience can sit in what's happening. So she makes the decision as the director for the anime adaptation that we'll sit in that for a bit, that it'll sort of carry on for a little bit. It doesn't drag or anything, but it does. It gives you a moment to really sit with the characters and sit with what's happening. So, and there are moments throughout the anime where that's happening. So the director was is making decisions like that throughout the series, which I think is really, really cool and really drives home really what the series with the manga is tackling.
Yes. So, now that we've reset the day, they go about the day normally again, and Marina once again calls out Shizuka, and Takopi is terrified. He doesn't. He wants to help Shizuka, but they are unable to, just out of sheer fear.
Frozen in fear, frozen in terror.
Yeah. So the solution is to transform into Shizuka and call for a teacher, which is kind of funny because it's like, oh, you called for help, and then you're also the one getting beaten.
They
But
do talk about it
in the
very briefly. It causes confusion.
yeah, in this scenario, only her face gets beaten up, which is like an improvement compared to the beating Takopi took, but still.
I forget. Are we still in episode 2 or is this now episode 3? I forget how episode.
I am unsure. Um, this might still be episode two, and this might be how episode two ends because this chapter two ends with meeting Azuma. They don't really go into him, but he's introduced as a character essentially.
I don't even. I don't remember because. Okay, wait. I actually think I remember how episode 2 ends now. So episode 2, I believe, ends with us discovering Marina's home life.
I see.
And then Azuma is introduced after that. So that would be episode 3.
Gotcha. I may have forgotten to write that down in terms of.
I forget exactly how they bridge the gap, but at some point after Marina beats up Shizuka, we follow Marina. I forget why, but we follow Marina home after school one day, and we find out what Marina's home life is like, which is that her parents fight all the time. Her mother seems to be quite unstable, although we're not sure why. We find out later. Um, and the reason that the household is unstable is Marina's mother. I forget if Marina's mother has a name, but Marina's mother is constantly
I think she might just be called Mama.
mama. So Marina's mama is constantly accusing her father of, for lack of a better phrase, whoring around. Um,
I mean, just apparently, we find out that he is, so it's sort of justified, but at the same time, it doesn't make it right.
no, look, I'm not defending any of these people. I'm just relating what happened, right? So
What we can both agree on is that all the parents in this series are just terrible people.
yes, we can definitely agree on that. Except for the police officers that come in later.
Well, they're just doing their jobs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey man, you got to support people doing their jobs. Otherwise, jobs
Yeah,
wouldn't get done.
yeah. It's not like they're beating on minorities.
They're not. They're not doing anything. They're just looking for answers. Anyway, we'll get to
Hmm.
that when we get there. But so Marina's mom is constantly accusing the dad of whoring around, and he doesn't even fight her on it. He's just like, it's my money. I can do what I want with it. So
Yeah. So, not a great way of going about a conversation, frankly. But
what is like what I think people can relate to about Marina's character is Marina's mom is so unhinged that she either knowingly or unknowingly puts a lot of pressure on Marina because there's a scene right at the very end of episode
not
two.
not as bad as Ozmo's mom, but we will get into her.
We'll get into Azuma's mom, but so Marina's mom, there's a moment at the end of episode two where Marina's mom is saying to Marina, "You'll always be on my side, right? I can always count on you." And
Oh
I
boy.
don't know about anybody else, but I certainly understand what that is like and the amount of
Yeah.
psychological
Wow.
pressure that puts on somebody.
We're late. Wow. Crazy, huh? You'll be on my side, right? I reported that our neighbors had Jewish people in their ceiling. You'll be on my side, right?
It is wild because, like, I mean, there's so many levels to that, right? Because, like, you're basically saying that you're going to be against your other parent, which I don't, I, in no way is that ever reasonable to expect of a child. And
Not at all.
it's just like what you're suggesting is so unhinged. Like it's so like obviously I'm not going to you're my mom. Of course I'm not going to disagree necessarily with you because there's a familial bond and you love your parents. It's such a shitty situation to be in.
Yeah. So we start chapter 3, the title of which is called Marina Kingdom. So we start that particular chapter with Marina just smacking Shizuka while she's walking Chappie, and as expected, Chappie attacks Marina. Chappie gets taken away and presumably killed because a dog attacked a child.
Or
Um,
after the resets, but we find out that it's
yes,
entirely planned. Like Marina intentionally does this.
yes. So I can't recall how many times if the anime sort of like says how many times it resets. However, they start resetting to try to like change the pathing
It's like four
because
or
just
five
to try.
times because every time Takopi is like, let's go for a walk in the morning. Let's actually go for a walk after school. Let's go for a walk this way. Let's not go to the park. Like there's so many variants where Takopi's trying to
Yeah.
avoid this encounter, and it's one of those inevitable encounters.
So that is one thing the manga does have. It has the counter as to how many times they've reset to try to save the dog, and it's 101 times.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for
uh, this
perseverance.
this this girl is vicious. She is trying to kill the dog.
I don't think she's trying to kill the dog. I think that okay. I At this point, I think we do know like what the dynamic is between Marina and Shizuka, and it comes out that the person that Marina's dad is quote unquote whoring around with is Shizuka's mother, who like it all makes sense, right? Because we know that Shizuka's mother's an escort, so like the pieces all line up. But what's what's messed up about it is that Marina blames Shizuka and feels that if she can get rid of Shizuka, then her family situation will get fixed. And again, it's like it's all very messed up, but I'm sure I mean like I get it. When I saw it, I was like, that's I if I were Marina, if I were Marina. You know what I mean? Like that's the thought that you're left with every time these situations come up because they're so gritty and they're so real, and it's like, what would I do?
And we end up finding out that supposedly Chappie has gone to her dad's place to live.
What's said? That's actually something
That's
that
what's said.
confused me a little bit because I, okay,
That dog is dead.
well,
That dog is so dead.
so originally we hear that, like factually speaking, from the authorities, we hear that the dog has been taken to the pound. Um,
Right.
and
We don't get any follow up from a official source. It is up to us to figure out if we want to assume the dog is dead. However, the dog isn't at the dad's place.
so we don't, all we know from like officially from the authorities is that the dog goes to the pound in whatever town they live in. Like at no point is it ever canonically established that the dog makes its way to Shizuka's dad's place. Like that's, I feel
Yep.
like a fabrication that Shizuka and Azuma come up with.
Yes. So, regardless, at this point, Chappie is a driving force in the story, but he is out of the story.
So, well, I mean, like, I don't, out of the story, I feel like it's kind of strong because he becomes the driving force in
Yes,
all
but
of Shizuka's
he doesn't
decisions.
make another appearance in this part.
You don't see him again until later.
Right. But the probably the like it's one thing to try to take away someone's dog, and then the very next morning Marina comes in and is like, "Oh, it's the owner of the shit dog. How dare you show up today?"
Yeah, it's pretty messed up what, and but like that's how Marina sort of copes. And look, one of the things that we for sort of for left out is that these are fourth graders. So these are 10 and 11-year-olds. So they're obviously not people who are able to make emotionally rational decisions. So something that Marina does in order to cope with her personal situation is she bullies Shizuka and she gets everybody else to bully Shizuka. And the way that Shizuka copes is she dissociates.
And gaslights and manipulates, but
It's not till later.
that's not till later. I mean, she did a little bit on when she got the happy gadget to herself, but
Wait, what do you mean? Which happy gadget?
the patch up ribbon.
She gaslight. Who did she gaslight?
Takopi into giving it to her so that she can use it by herself.
I would agree that she manipulated him, but gaslighting requires that for something to have happened and then you deny that that thing happened.
Yeah, I guess. Fair enough. Anyway, so chapter 4 is titled Takopi's Salvation. Um, that I guess her saying the shitty dog owner might have been chapter 4, but we get to a point where Marina is like, "Hey, I know. Let's talk about Chappie. Let's go into this area where you're not supposed to enter." And there she tells Shizuka that Chappie's dead, no one loves her, and that she should kill herself. Which, you should never say to anyone, ever.
Your channel fully believes not to ever say that to anyone. So don't do that.
Yeah. We find out that the source of the conflict. This is when we find out that uh, Marina's dad goes out whoring around with Shizuka's mom, and that's the sort of like conflict, really. And like Shizuka gets beaten the crap out of, and then Takopi comes out with the camera, and you're like, "Oh, cool, he's gonna reset the timeline." No, he does not. So it turns out, instead of like pressing the button, Takopi just smacks Shizuka on the head, and we've already established that this thing's heavy, so she dies just straight up, blunt force
Hey,
trauma to the head.
that moment, that was also another poignant moment for me because in the anime, I love how it happens. I don't know how that happens in the manga, but in the anime, you have this moment where you have Takopi with the camera, and like Eric said, you think he's gonna press the button. And then the next moment, there's on the screen, there's like this blood splatter. So you're like, oh no, did Takopi get attacked? Like, what happened? And then you find out that Takopi has not only thwacked Marina with the camera, and the camera is now covered in blood, and Marina's face is covered in blood, but that she's glazy eyed, which, you know, we all know what that means.
Usually means dead as hell.
Yeah. So, and I think that's how the episode ends. I think that's how that episode ends.
So I can't recall the episode because it's been a little bit since I watched it, but the manga chapter ends with the conversation about with Shizuka about how grateful she is that Takobi killed Marina.
Next,
And
that's
it's
how
like,
episode three
oh,
starts. That's how episode three starts.
oh, okay. So, and then she's like, it's just like magic, which is for the manga is like crazy because that dialogue bubble is right over Marina's lifeless dead body.
Yeah.
Then we get like shots of Shizuka like genuinely being happy, smiling, and then the manga chapter actually ends with the title, Takopi's Original Sin, with them holding hands, walking off into the horizon while Marina stares you dead in the face. It's fantastic artwork.
Yeah, what I think is crazy about that moment is that
So
Takopi.
title card.
Can you hear me? Is my audio working?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I just had to do a title card.
You're good. I swear we'll put the title card of the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think it because in that moment, Takopi thinks he's solved the problem. Like even though like it's crazy because he's literally just committed murder, and
Mm-hmm.
he thinks that like everything's good because Shizuka is smiling. There's no more problems, or how could there be more problems? There's no more Marina, and there's just no
Oh,
gravity for him.
I also want to note this is where he learns that killing means taking a life by definition.
Apparently, on Planet Happy,
No, like later on, they Mama doesn't know what killing means either.
in the end.
Uh, in the manga, at least the translation I read, she didn't know what killing meant when she tries to reset him. So the next chapter is Well, we also find out that the important plot point and why the series can sort of move on from this point. We find out that the happy camera doesn't work anymore. It turns out if you kill someone with something and cover it with blood, some mechanism no longer works.
Actually, wow, that's not what I thought. I thought like because um, Taco P hit her so hard with the camera that he just busted it.
I mean, either or. The, the Deus Ex Machina no longer works.
Like Eric said,
Can
that's like where we
can
get
you
the
repeat
title
that?
card of Taco P's original sin, which is actually something maybe after we're finished discussing all of the like the whole plot, something that I actually grapple with, and maybe I'm thinking about it too deeply, but I actually ponder what actually is Taco P's original sin. I feel like
I have notes on that, so we'll get to that.
okay,
Uh, so chapter 5. That's the end of chapter 4. Chapter 5 is Azuma-kun's intervention. So Azuma catches them in the act and sees Marina's dead body in the background.
he catches
So they
them in
explain,
the because they're like headed back east and he like happenstances upon them. Like I don't know if he witnessed the murder, but he
he
witnesses
didn't.
the dead body.
Yeah. And then as a result, he's like, what? Takubi's just like, oh, it's okay. Shizuka's happy now. And he's like, what is wrong with you? Someone's dead.
Which just drives home the point of Takopi's incredible naivete.
So Azuma tells Shizuka to turn herself in because he's read that it's more lenient in terms of the punishment if you confess to the crime. But instead,
He grapples with it for a bit. he's like, what do we do?
I mean, in fairness, he's a fourth grader. He's freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
But she Shizuka comes to realization of if she's in juvie, she can't see Chappie. So she's like, "Hey, let's cover it up instead."
Azuma reluctantly goes along with, and we find out why later.
Yeah, but she essentially manipulates him into saving her, and he has sort of like a hero complex. And then and then for everyone who's thinking otherwise, it's like, all right, well, Marina's missing, so let's just patch it up by having Takopi pretend to be Marina. Morgan, you're cutting off again.
Yeah, audio is going to be janky for a while, guys, until I can get back into my usual set. But so what was I going to say? Oh, I don't. So Azuma had suggests that Takopi should take Marina's place, but his plan is like really unclear. Like we don't know why that's necessary, other than simply trying to make it seem like Marina's not dead. So when this is sort of introduced, it's sort of like, okay, so does Taco P just pretend to be Marina indefinitely forever?
Probably, and it'll be real interesting in like 10 years when she's still the size of a fourth grader and everyone else has grown up.
It's the thought that you have when Azuma is suggesting this whole plan, because it's like there's no actual cover-up plan, because eventually you have to address the fact that she is dead.
Yeah, and they put her in the memory box, which perfectly preserves her. They bury her, not that well, to be frank.
So so they end up going about their daily lives. And Taco P, what I think is interesting about this particular part is so Takopi is going around pretending to be Marina and getting more of a glimpse into Marina's personal life, because she's going home as Marina and she's interacting with their family. Um, I'm trying to remember like exactly what happens next. And during all of
So
this,
this is
why
this is this is where Takopi walks into the living room and is like, "I'm home, tadaima," and then gets smacked in the face with like a tassel thing that her father angrily threw across the room.
she's trying to announce that she's home and they're fighting. Um, I don't actually remember how that resolves because it's all very awkward. And I
It's the getting smacked in the face that sort of ends the argument because as terrible of parents they are, they sort of like stop to make sure that Marina's okay theoretically.
actually I don't think that's I don't think that that's resolution, because basically they just end up arguing about whether or not her getting smacked in the face with this tassel was even a problem, because the mother is in a way overprotective, because she's like, how could you throw that in her face? And the dad is like, she's fine, look, it's fine, nothing happened. The whole thing, like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. So like they kind of sort of continue to argue, which is what makes the whole thing kind of awkward, and it keeps cutting
But
to
also very real, to be frank.
yeah, no, that's what I so it keeps cutting to Taco P. So you see Taco P as Marina standing there, and she's just like uh 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 and you're like, this is a little bit too real, because who among us has not been in that situation? And like, God bless you if your parents have never got into a fight in front of you, but mine certainly have, and it's awkward AF.
Yeah, you just and the whole time Takubi's just in their head being like, "Oh, this family's so lively. It's great."
Just like, just more naivete on
Mm-hmm.
naivete, and to some degree it's kind of like grating, because you're like, how can you be this oblivious? But
But it works as such a fantastic foil to the actual situation going on.
right, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's something to be said about this sort of dedication to I'm going to choose to be happy despite what's happening around me.
Yeah. So we move on from that to chapter 6, titled Azuma-kun's Adventure. They start playing to see Chappie during the summer because they'll have a little bit of free time. But we also get to meet his brother Junya, who's just cool. He hates his brother, and she's like, you know, and he hates this like ring that he got for his girlfriend because he has a part time job, even though their mom told him not to. But he's like, hey, if I'm gonna buy something for my girlfriend, I should do it with my own money.
Honestly, I was kind of vibing with that perspective. I was like,
No,
yeah.
no, 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 no. All the props to Junya. He's cool.
Yeah.
But because Azuma's a little brat currently, he's like, oh, I'm gonna listen to Shizuka, who was like, hey, why don't you steal the ring if it's so important to your brother?
Yeah,
So
it's something that I had to go
he,
back and read about because I don't actually remember why that's suggested. It just ends up becoming a thing.
yeah, um, it's one of the reasons he's sort of rebelling against their mom, who's just not a great person. But we haven't really fully met her yet. But he seems to have a soft spot for his brother. But we find out this chapter that Ozma has a giant victim complex and
I think
has
at this point,
a bit of an Oedipus complex as well.
think that at this point, I would say that Azuma has a soft spot for Junya because I think that there's a lot of pent up.
No, no, no. Junya has a soft spot for Ozma.
Oh,
Ozma.
yes, yes, I would agree with that. Junya definitely has a soft spot for Azuma, but Azuma has never opened up to Junya for, various reasons.
Yeah. The Happy Wings immediately run out of power here.
Oh,
Like
wait, so you have
we
to
see.
explain, you have to build that out a little bit for our
Yeah.
audience that
All right.
doesn't know what's going
Right.
on.
So, he's almost caught by his brother trying to steal the ring. So he like books it out the window and uses the Happy Wings to try to escape, but they immediately run out of power.
Like, and immediately meaning like literally immediately. So he jumps out the window because so he turns to Takopi and is like, "You have magic stuff, right? Like, what do you have something for this situation?" And Takopi's like, "No, I don't have anything." So he jumps out the window, and this is when we find out that there's a weight limit for the wings. So the wings trying to support his weight immediately run out of juice.
Yeah. So it genuinely looks like he's about to die, but Takopi manages to save him. So
By the
you
skin
know,
of his teeth.
by the skin of his teeth.
If Happyens have
Um,
teeth.
yes. We also find out at the end of this chapter that Takopi is, as expected, a terrible marina because they are all chummy. They're having fun together. It's a grand old time. And then she also sort of like, oh no, that's next chapter. Okay, so that's chapter 6.
Wait, this chapter six? And for those that are trying to follow along with the anime adaptation, this is all still in episode 3.
Okay, so that's chapter 6 of them just the ending screenshot of them being three great friends. And if you take this out of context, it's like, oh, this is a cute, adorable manga. I should read it.
Still shot of Azuma, Shizuka, and Takopi Marina.
Yes. I believe so. Yep. That's page 20 of 21 of that chapter. At least according to the scans I read. So the ending, and then there probably one more page to it. Um,
Like
can
a
you repeat that?
this is sort of like a repeating thing that happens throughout the series is so Azuma fails at getting this ring and it's sort of just left as an unattended to open ending sort of thing where Shizuka doesn't really comment on the failure, and Azuma doesn't have the ring, but life continues and it's all good and well. And that's a recurring theme, as with some of the stuff that we've already talked about. Like, there are already instances where Eric and I are talking about something and we're like, yeah, so then we kind of just things just keep progressing and there's not really a resolution to specific events. It's just life keeps moving, which again is an overarching theme for the series at large.
Yeah. So chapter 7 is called Takopi's Confession. We find out a little bit about the big happy clock when they're just kind of spending some time together and talking, where the big happy clock lets you go back to any sort of time point. But once again, Takopi sort of mutters that, but they can't go back to Happy Planet for some reason.
You're saying that Takopi, this is when Takopi reveals that Takopi can't go back to Happy Planet.
I think it might actually be the second time that it's mentioned that they can't really return, because they mention about when they talk about sort of the Happy Planet. It's very far away. It's full of fruit. It's just a quick trip with the Happy Ship.
Honestly, is actually totally left unanswered because we never find out why Taco P can't go back. Like, we never find out what that's about.
We do.
We do.
Yeah, we'll go into that. So chapter
You'll have to
seven,
jog my memory.
yeah, that's fine. We find out about the big happy clock, and then uh, during one of their family dinners, Takabe has a little bit of a fun confusion moment where Marina's dad's like, "Hey, do you want to come live with Papa instead?" And Takabe makes the connection. Oh wait, Chappie is at Papa's place, not realizing that they're different dads because Happy Planet is a matriarchal system.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that.
We have just straight up abuse where Marina's mom starts smacking Taco P. Uh, Taco P is like apologetic that and looking around the family house and seeing all these memories of Marina and being like, "I'm so sorry that I killed her." And then they find Marina's original body, the real
Episode,
her act. Sorry, not original body, her body.
right. Well, that's how episode 3 ends. Um, and well, they is as in the authorities find the
Right.
body. Um, and that's how episode 3 ends. But I, yeah, I actually I didn't put that originally together about Marina's dad asking asking Marina if Marina wants to live with him and that connecting to Chappie. So that's actually I didn't consider that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So this is now the halfway point. This is the first of the two manga books. There's a nice 4 page omake. Please, this has been heavy. Please put it up for the audience because they're cute. They're cute pages and they're actually fun. Before we dive back into this.
Yeah. So we'll throw those up on the screen real quick, and Eric and I are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Do you
All
want to
right.
do our welcome back from break?
I mean, we didn't have to actually say that we were taking a break. We could just like do a quick like
It makes
one bat.
transitions. It makes transitions easier when you say
At
that.
at 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 a one bathroom break later. All right, so we just came back from the bathroom, not together, but we are back, and we will talk about chapter 8, Shizuka
Place.
Kingdom. I think that starts episode 4, correct?
Yeah. Well, so we just wrapped up episode 3 with the authorities discovering the body. So,
Correct.
right. So what we will be talking about from here forward will be episode 4 and forward.
Right. So here we start the chapter with Azuma freaking the fuck out.
Okay, so the authorities come to their classroom and they're asking if anybody has any information to please share, but they're doing it in that, sort of friendly police way where they're like, nobody's in trouble, we're just looking for information. And yeah, Azuma is freaking out.
Yeah, I mean, fair. He sort of buried the body, but turns out Shizuka's just unbothered. She's
Yeah,
like, well, listen, are we not gonna plan for the summer trip? Summer's coming. And everyone else is like, or, well, not everyone. Just Azuma's like, are you okay? Because Takopi is just Takopi.
I think this is what the series, one of the things that the series does so well is I think it very accurately shows what happens when a person dissociates. Because she's totally unbothered and she's just focused on doing this one thing that she feels is going to bring back the sliver of joy that she had in her life.
And then now, we have him freaking out at home, everywhere he goes, and Best Bro Junior comes and checks in on him.
So this is where we get the interaction when Azuma opens up to Junya, or is that later?
That's still later, because he's still sort of shell shocked. We end up having him. We have a full conversation with him much later. But this stuff is sort of carrying on to his grades because he's just so distracted about the trip that he's just not focusing in class.
Where we get the messed up scene with him and his mother. So,
I mean,
do
it
you want to?
starts pretty sweet. Like it's like, oh, he's just shell shocked about his bad grade, and his mom's like, oh, here's the pancakes you've always wanted.
Right. It makes it the way that it's framed makes it seem like the mother is very understanding. I shouldn't say it like that because we want to bring the audience on a journey. So she presents the pancakes and she says things that are very comforting because she understands what's happening at school and how this is probably affecting Azuma's mental state
Nope,
of being.
nope, 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 nope,
And
nope, nope,
then
nope.
at the end, we find out that she's actually just given up on him.
Yeah, and it's like, lady, have you not read? Have you not watched the news? I know you're a doctor, but like, has no one said anything about this?
She is definitely, I mean, Eric and I both come from Asian backgrounds, so have a little bit of experience with this. But if you've ever met an Asian mom, uh,
Uh, Oh, we also find out that the police are suspicious of Shizuka because the other classmates are like, yeah, uh, Marina was like acting weird around her. She might have been blackmailing her or something.
like there's that, it's sort of actually kind of an offhanded scene, at least in the anime, where we see the
It's so in the manga
police.
as well.
Yeah, so we see the police interviewing with some of Shizuka's classmates, and they are saying that Marina has been acting really weird, which we all know is because it's Takopi and not Marina, but obviously nobody else knows that.
No,
And they sort of, obviously because they've all been bullying Shizuka, they all sort of quietly point fingers, or not so quietly point fingers at Shizuka, not that they're wrong, but like
like
there's
if this is
that.
what there is this case to be said of like she was happy that one of her classmates was killed. Maybe she should have been bullied. That's a joke. That's a joke. Don't take that seriously. No, don't.
uh yeah, that's that's wild. That's a wild thing to say, Eric.
Uh, this is the opinion of the channel. Represents both of us. This is a great time for your audio not to work. Just
Canceled.
continue for it to
We're
not work.
we are canceled. We're never going to be able to show our faces in public again.
What does it matter? No one's gonna watch this. Um. So June. So Ozuma is freaking out to Shizuka, and he's like, "Oh, I keep getting questioned by the police. Shizuka's getting questioned by the police, and she's like, if this keeps up, I won't be able to go to see Chappie during the summer. So, and
He's
he's like, oh,
singularly focused.
I'll do anything for you, because I think I said hero complex earlier, but I actually mean savior complex. She's like, hey, do me a favor, turn yourself in, and that's how chapter 8 ends. Just this like panel of her just with Takopi just doing the Takopi face on her shoulder.
I mean, like, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not necessarily familiar with what specifically a savior complex is or what the symptoms of a savior complex is, but this is where we kind of get the inkling that Azuma has an attraction to Shizuka. So part of what I felt is because like we get they like very specifically have those shots where he has hearts in his eyes. And for me, it sort of felt more like he was just making, because, love makes you do stupid things, that whole adage. And I think that that's part of what's going on here is he has an infatuation with Shizuka and will do technically whatever it would take in order to keep her around.
We actually end up finding more of that on the next chapter. Is this still episode 4 of the anime?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe we're still in episode 4.
Cool. So chapter 9 is titled "It's Fine." We find out more about Ozma's backstory. So like, we find out that Junya is just like a prodigal son. His grades are perfect. Even if he's rebelling, he's still doing great. He has friends, a girlfriend, everything. And no matter how hard Ozma tries, he just can't do as well as him. Um,
I think this is also where we find out because there's a scene with Junya, Azuma, and Azuma's mom in the living room, and we find out that Azuma's mom has very high hopes for Azuma because Junya set the bar relatively easily. Like Junya is apparently a very gifted individual, and his ability to achieve high marks was somewhat easy for him. So Azuma's mom makes somewhat of an assumption that Azuma will have a similarly easy time achieving high marks. And when that turns out not to be the case, that's when things start to fall apart.
yeah, and then there's a couple like particular details that he sort of focuses on, like his mom's that Junya has that his mom also has like silky black hair, and then that sort of cuts to Shizuka, and it's sort of like, oh, that's sort of like a weird Oedipus reason that he has a crush on her, and the general like, the mom is a doctor, so his whole goal is to be like her and help people, and that's sort of why because Shizuka needs so much help, that's why he's so into her.
That's a very interesting perspective because I definitely because there's a whole point where they talk about the clinic and who's going to take over the clinic, and that Azuma's ambition to take over the clinic is somewhat blockaded because Junya is the obvious in person who would take over the clinic. But I never felt that that came from a place of his own personal desire to help people, more so as fulfilling a family obligation or family expectation. I think that his want to help Shizuka is very specific to Shizuka and, to your point, his Oedipus complex with his mom.
And then it's I a part of me thinks it's less about taking over the clinic, but more of just getting attention from his mom because he sees Junior's acting out and rebellion as a way of like him getting in and like him being the prodigal son.
He thinks that Junya is going to screw up at some point, and that's going to create a path for him to usurp the firstborn's rite of passage, so to speak.
It's
Or
very
the
European. It's fantastic.
it's quite interesting.
So the chapter ends with Shizuka like being like sort of manipulating him and being like, "I don't have anyone else. I only have you. Uh, can you please turn yourself in, and then I'll wait for you as long as you need me to." And
What
you know, it's a like really cute moment, but it's like, uh, excuse me?
what what I love about the moment is that Azuma goes to Shizuka with with this mounting issue, and Shizuka starts by being like, "Yeah, I mean, like it's no problem," and he's like, "Oh my God, this is so great! It's gonna be awesome!" And then like he switches the script on him really fast, and kind of out of nowhere is like, "Yeah, so turn yourself in. Like all of our problems will be solved if you turn yourself in." And he's like, "Uh." Uh,
Yeah,
like you see his brain break for a second.
I mean fair.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the end of chapter 9.
Really
We
sad. Wait, I have to say this. What's really sad about that moment is I think, and maybe this is me projecting, I'll be honest. Maybe this is me projecting onto Azuma's character. But for me, it feels like in that moment, Azuma like has a micro realization that he's just a throwaway cog for Shizuka. Like
the
Shizuka is legitimately um s- uh like sociopathic. Like she
yeah.
has no
Oh,
empathy
100%.
for Asuma in this moment.
And the craziest thing, which I wish wasn't realistic, but it is realistic, is that he's still gonna go through with it.
Yeah. Yeah, he still does it.
So that's the end of chapter 9. That's how chapter 9 ends. Chapter
That's
10
also
is
that's also how episode 4 ends, I believe,
okay,
because
great.
I think we see at the beginning of episode 5 the whole fallout of him confessing. I think that's the beginning of episode 5.
Gotcha. I think episode yeah. So episode 5 and chapter 10. Chapter 10's title is Azuma-kun's Salvation, and we start the chapter with a panel about with Junya in like the worst light, being like, "You killed her, but you're a disgrace." But turns out that's all in Azuma's head, and his brother's just be checking up on him and making sure he's okay.
Wait, I want to backtrack for a second because I forget because there's an important scene that I think happens in episode 4 before the end where we see oh no wait, does this happen later? The scene in the entryway where
Yeah.
he's
So
confessing to
I was about to get to it. So
Oh,
it
okay.
it starts with him like freaking out, thinking his brother is about to like freak out on him and just call him out on everything terrible he's doing. But the dude's here is just to listen to his brother, and they have a really nice like little moment where his brother reveals, "Oh yeah, the pancakes are ass. Like they're made like the night before. Like mom cares, but it's just like you know the they're not good." And this whole time he's clutching the bloody camera in his hands.
I'm so honest for a second though, and this is probably the one moment where I was like, screw these kids. Because in this moment, what I was thinking about was the fact that the mom is a full-time working mom. We haven't seen Azuma's dad, so I don't know if dad is in the picture,
He
but
is in some format.
but we do know that Azuma's mom and Junia's mom is a full-time clinician. We don't know what type of clinician, but we know that she's a doctor and that she runs a clinic. So we know that she's a full-time working individual. So in this moment when Junia's talking about the pancakes, for me, it's just like you ungrateful little shit.
Well,
Like,
I think a part of that was just like him like trying to talk down the pancakes a little bit, just because his brother was so fixated on them. He's like,
do you think he was lying? Do you think he was
yeah.
lying for his brother's sake?
Oh, did you see those pancakes in the previous episode? They looked great. I would have gobbled that shit up.
It looked fantastic. I wanted some. I was
Yeah,
Googling the, Takopi pancakes.
yeah. So like, it's like no, that dude was like just lying to his brother to try to make him feel better.
That's chill.
But uh, Ozma turns himself in, and we find out that the police are still suspicious of Shizuka. As a result of him turning himself in, the mother is now bedridden, and the clinic is closed, and the dad comes in to sort of take over for a little bit and try to take handle on things.
Right, we do see that. That's right. There is, I do want to say that, so Azuma confesses to Junya. So I think the implication is that Junya is like supportive, but tells him to confess. I think that's sort of the implication. We don't actually see that happen because that scene ends with Azuma saying, "There's something that I have to tell you," and we
Yeah,
don't actually see him tell Junya.
yeah. So uh, I originally, so when I read through the chapter, they talk about how, oh, did you see that the clinic's child uh, was involved in some way, and then general gossip of I don't believe it. That kid is just a good kid, and then more gossip on like, oh well, it's actually suspected that it's a different student in his class. So it seems that Ozma did confess to it, but no one believes him.
Think it's a little bit more than nobody believes him because when you make a confession, that's sort of damning as far as like courts are concerned, or at least in the United States. I don't know how it works in Japan,
Yeah,
but I think that in conjunction with the fact that he's a minor and the fact that his character would suggest that he was put up to it, I think that they're trying to piece things together. And the snippets that we hear of individuals saying those things about Azuma are actually just like sort of bit people. Like they're not even people that we meet. It's just like sort of a rumor mill stuff of people saying like, I think he was put up to it because there's no way Azuma would do that type of thing.
right.
So yeah, so that goes about the rumor mill, the whole thing with the clinic. It's a mess. It's
Yeah.
a whole mess.
While all this happens, Shizuka's just like, well, summer vacation started. Let's go to Japan, and it's like a really nice panel at the end of like just like
Yeah,
looking like an adventure manga.
like straight
Or
up.
sorry, let's go to Tokyo, not Japan. They're in
Yeah,
Japan.
Tokyo. Like straight up sociopathic. Like
Oh yeah.
straight up not even vaguely understanding what is going on.
So chapter 11 is Cross Japan Shizuka tour, where they're going around Tokyo. They found the apartments, and she knocks on the door, and we find out that Shizuka's dad has two other daughters and another dog, and Chappie is definitely not there.
And when we see Shizuka find her dad, the dad right in front of her denies that he's her dad.
Yeah, so that's messed up. So after that
Is
scene,
well, there is the possibility that Shizuka found the wrong person. However, there is a moment where we see Shizuka's dad being like, "How the fuck did you find me?"
mhm, why are you here?
Yeah,
So it's generally assumed that that's probably not the case here. She definitely found her dad
yeah,
because he recognizes her as soon as he opens the door,
yeah.
but then denies it in front of his $2 because it's like,
Crazy. Well, because they ask. I mean,
yeah,
they're straight up like, "Why is she calling you dad?" And he's like, you know what? I'm wondering that too."
yeah,
Like, what a bitch.
yeah. The parents in this series are just terrible.
And so that brings us to a very, like, probably the quintessential scene of the series because this is where we see um, Shizuka with Takopi. after this interaction. That's what happens next. Takopi is
Yeah.
trying to make Shizuka feel better, and Shizuka is like, "You don't understand. There's nothing, no one. Chappie was the only thing I had left," and she's
Well,
essentially,
there is she Takopi's like, hey, let's use the happy wings. We can fly in the sky. We can use the transformation palette to turn into caterpillars, which is like also another way I'm thinking in my head like, wait, they turn into caterpillars. What if they get eaten? But that's neither here nor there.
yeah, that's
Uh,
it's a thought though. That's
it's a
definitely. I mean,
thought.
they
It's
don't
just a
do it.
thought. So Shizuko wants to cut the two daughters open because she's convinced that Chappie they ate Chappie, so he's in their stomachs, and she needs to rescue him.
Which is just an entirely irrational thought. But also remember that this is a fourth grader.
Yeah. Uh, and then Takopi's like, oh wait, that look in her eye, there's something familiar about it, and then she kills Takopi with a rock.
Was doing some reading about analyses of this particular scene, and because we see Shizuka beat on Takopi with that rock for a while, and she's like strangling him and beating him with the rock and strangling him and beating him with the rock, and we don't like there's a stark difference between this interaction and what happens with Marina because there is no blood splatter. Like there is no actual indication of what happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that assume that Taco Pete dies in this moment, but
There's
me personally, I didn't have that thought. I
mhm,
thought that like he just like blacked out
yeah.
and that triggered something.
My only question is that timeline wise, he has to make he's still in Tokyo at this point. He has to make it back to whatever town they're from somehow,
Is to
and I'm
make it back.
not.
Say that one more time.
He has to make it back to their town. I don't think they ever say which town they're in, but they're currently in Tokyo. They have to go back to their town so that he can continue on with the next scene after the flashbacks arc, mini arc, chapters.
That is that why you're saying that Takopi dies? Like I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about the mechanics of how he ends up back in the town.
After we do the flashback, he ends
Correct.
up back with Azuma.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how he gets there. That's just
So,
the
but
one thing I'm confused about.
this is also why I don't actually think that Takopi dies because if Takopi died, then he wouldn't have this interaction with Azuma.
Yeah. So whatever the case is, uh, uh she just she beats on Takopi.
So she wails on Takopi, and then something happens in that interaction. Maybe he dies, maybe he blacks out, and it triggers a flashback to a memory that Takopi had that had been erased from his memory.
So he remembers now that Marina was actually the first person he met in the year 2022. So that's the end of chapter 11. Chapter 12 is to you in 2022. We sort of see Takapi's like meeting with Marina, how their interactions go. She's a 10th grader, so like, the happy gadgets aren't they weren't a hit to begin with, but they're even less of a hit now.
We don't actually, I don't think we see that in the anime because I don't remember that in the anime. We kind of jump to Happy being or Taco P being Marina's like companion. Like we sort of
Mhm.
skip over the introductory or like the discovery phase and we just skip to Marina is the person that Taco P has decided
Yeah.
that he's gonna make happy.
Yeah. And at this point, we see that Marina has a scar on her face, and it gets revealed that, oh, turns out her mom's really abusive. Like, uh, Glass Shard threatens to, like, cut her daughter abusive because she's out of kombucha, which is just, like, crazy.
Yeah.
And,
So
like,
we see there's a scene where we see Marina back at home with her mother, and it's late at night, and Marina gets back late and is like apologizing for getting back late, and she's like, "Let me make dinner," and she discovers that there's no kombucha, and her mom is essentially blaming her for not getting more before they ran out, and has a broken bottle at the ready, like all good parents.
So he- here we see that the day after, Marina's like, I want to be a happy mother, like I want to like raise a kid properly, and Takopi has to sort of accidentally calls her out and is like, oh, so that's why you like treat me so terribly. You're just practicing to be a mom in the future. And she's
Actually,
just
I
like,
actually loved this scene because through his absolute naivete, he accidentally like does makes a right call or makes a right deduction because he basically compares Marina to her mom, which gives Marina pause for thought because Marina up to this point hadn't realized that she was unconsciously mimicking her mother's behavior, which, like fair, most of us mimic our parents' behavior without really realizing it. And when Taco P does it in his just like sweet, naive, blank way that he does it, it's like, oh, because like you're not even throwing shade, you're just like stating a fact.
and then there's also like fun moment where he's like, "Oh, I'll help you become a mama," and she's just like befuddled because she's like, "What is this weird alien thing suggesting?" Because she's a 10th grader and she understands how that particular mechanic works.
You could put it together. I was just like, so you just want her to keep abusing you. Like
Yeah.
that's where my mind went. I was like, oh.
That was an interpretation from reading the manga because you have like this pause on her face, on her like confused face.
There's a moment in the anime too where there's a sort of close-up shot of Marina after Takopi says that, but
Mm,
my mind was like she was grappling with the idea of, wait, hold on, this isn't how I would want to treat my
mm.
kid.
Yeah, that was my particular. Uh, but that particular that moment is sort of like canceled out because she runs into Azuma again and they start dating.
The very next thing that happens, and again, this is one of the things that the series is so good at doing is it's just like life just keeps coming at you. It doesn't stop, and you don't necessarily have time to resolve some of these things. So we never really get a sense for what Marina's grappling with, whether that's what Eric was saying and like the gravity of like having a kid, or if it's what I was saying and the realization that she is like her mom and maybe she needs to change. Like we never really get an answer to that. We just sort of roll into the next life event.
So that's the end of chapter 12. Or sorry, before that ends, we find out that Shizuka is coming back because people are sort of gossiping about her, like, oh, there's a really pretty girl who used to live here. She tried to kill herself, but the rope broke.
See her, don't we? There's a shot where we see
Yes,
her walking
yes,
back to school, and it's kind of heartbreaking because Marina and Azuma are walking along the road, and it's like this coy, like she wants to hold his hand but isn't sure, so their hands keep bumping. And Shizuka comes walking from the other direction, and Azuma sees her and he pulls his hand pulls away, and Marina thinks that it's because he's uncomfortable and doesn't want to hold her hand, but actually it's because he's seen Shizuka and is like, wait, is that who I think it is?
yes. So here we see the first sort of divergence from the timeline because the reason Shizuka kills herself properly in the first chapter is because Takopi was there and the ribbon didn't break. So in the original timeline, the rope breaks and she can't kill herself.
Actually, this actually does. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It's all making sense now. Because without Takopi there to interfere, the course of events is that she still tried to kill herself, but that she survives, and I guess she goes away. I guess she's still. I guess so. This is all speculation because this is something that I was trying to organize in my head as far as the timeline is concerned. So basically, the events that we know would have happened without Takopi is Marina would have confronted her, the dog would have bitten her, the dog would have been taken away, she would have tried to kill herself, and then I guess she still goes to try and find the dog, but ends up becoming just this wanderer in the Japanese countryside until eventually returning, I guess.
So whatever the case is, she somehow grew up into at least a teenager. We start the next chapter titled Takopi's Original Sin, chapter 13, with the Marina and Azuma breaking up.
And the whole thing because they break up kind of sort of as a blip. Like them breaking up isn't even the important thing because then we see Marina have to tell her mom. And that's a whole thing.
Yeah, so Marina's mom did a whole cooking, did a whole banquet, and for whatever reason, put all of her hopes on Azuma. And as a result of it, in the manga, it's even shorter, where they break up, and then immediately you see a sort of like parallel where on one column it's Marina's story, and in the other column it's Shizuka and Azuma having a sweet moment where they're just close, whereas Marina's killing her mom.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not actually sure specifically where in the episode we're talking because we do see Marina confront her mom, and then we do see that she has a whole like self-defense moment
Yes.
where we
What
get
what
that.
what I mean is that the events are happening concurrently, but in the manga it's literally 2 pages. It's like 1 page of the arguments, and then the like a second page of just the character's feelings, and then we see as a double panel, Marina's mom is dead on the ground. It's
So
very fast.
this would be one of those other instances where this is probably where the director when the director was talking about I wanted certain moments, the audience to sit in certain moments. So we do see the whole argument with Marina's mom sort of play out. So Marina comes home, like Eric said, there's this whole spread laid out, which just makes it harder for Marina to deliver the news. And then when she does deliver the news, there's there's this whole thing where her mom is like, "Oh, okay, well when will be good for Azuma to come by?" And then it comes out that they've actually broken up and he won't be by, and that like triggers her mom, and mom attacks her, and like this whole thing plays out. And then at the end, you get that still shot after Marina has killed her mom.
And then you get some close up uh, panels in the manga on her mom's like, dead face. Like she's dead, dead.
Yeah, yeah. Just
But
like Marina was in episode, what was it, 3?
yeah.
Or episode
Well,
2?
Takopi's like, oh, I can fix it, because Shizuka or Marina's like, hey, I should have just killed Shizuka in fourth grade. Then none of this would have been a problem. And then Takopi comes in to save the day, being like, oh, I just had to kill her, right? Which, as a reminder, at this point, he doesn't actually know. They don't actually know what that means. So they take the happy ship back, and Marina at this whole time has been just calling him scumball. Realizes, oh, maybe I should have named you something properly, like Takopi or something, and then takes a bottle and kills herself.
So he goes back in order to use the big clock in order to do what Marina was saying that she should have done because Takopi, in his naivete, thinks that by doing this it will make Marina happy. But then we see his whole interaction on Happy Planet, where there's not resistance necessarily to him doing this, but there are repercussions.
So one
So,
of the reasons he can't go back is that apparently one of the cardinal rules of Happy Planet is that the most important law that he broke was that you can't come there alone. So if you leave, you have to come back with a person.
Really confused about the whole like why he can't go back because when we see in the anime him going back to the planet, it's kind of glossed over, if I'm being honest. It's kind of quick and there's not really a whole lot of explanation because he goes back, he basically says that he wants to do this thing, and there's no resistance to him doing that. But ultimately, what happens is his memory has to be erased, and for some reason that is not really clearly stated, he gets banished.
Yeah. So, but instead of like letting himself get erased, he smacks his he smacks Mama's hand, and then is like, and then she's like, why was he so violent? Why couldn't he just talk to me? And then also, what does killing mean?
Yeah. So, and that's probably why I'm a little bit confused as to why he can't return because he earlier on we hear him say, I can't go back, but if his memory's been erased, he wouldn't remember that.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's all very
uh,
confusing for me.
so we have a running reset count. Go ahead and add one to the reset count because this is a reset.
Hi everyone, it's Morgan in the editor's bay. Totally lost track of how many resets it's been. If you were keeping up, drop it in the comments. But we're on like 140 plus resets. There we go.
And that's the end of chapter 13. So that's what's considered Takopi's original sin, the act of going back in time to kill someone.
Also, the end of episode 5, I believe.
Yes. So we actually open to this like we return and then Takopi's like, I need to kill Shizuka.
I need to kill Shizuka Kuze.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let me pull up my notes.
please
But
hold for notes.
yeah, sorry. But he's realizing that, but he also really enjoyed the time he spent with her. So it's like, hey, I still want to see Shizuka be happy, but I also want Marina to be happy.
Start to see because in this, so basically, okay, this is where it gets confusing because at the end of episode 5 we see him using the big clock to go back in time, and we're told that his memory is going to get erased, but we see him smack Mama's hand, and it's sort of left kind of open-ended as to if that's successful or not. But basically that happens. He goes back, and essentially, picture we're going back to the beginning of the series. Everything that has happened from episode 1 to episode 5 has now happened. And we now see Takopi back in the same spot, contemplating what has recently happened, meaning the things that have happened with Shizuka, and what happened before he used the big clock, meaning the things that happened with Marina. And we see him finally grappling with the duality of goodness and badness, or justice and evil and all that kind of stuff. And while grappling with all those things, encounters Azuma
Yes,
and
that'll
asks
be the
Azuma.
next chapter. So that's sort of like chapter 14, titled Naoki-kun's intervention. He runs into Azuma, sort of has this really nice like morality talk with him, and sort of like Azuma has this sort of growing moment where he's like, well, obvious. They both have this growing moment where he's like, oh yeah, not everyone's good or bad. Like we had good times together, so thank you. And if you do ever uh like get to go back in time, tell me to like try fighting with my brother, because now he realizes his brother actually cares for him.
Conversation with Azuma is happening while Azuma's in fourth grade, but after Marina's been killed. So this is after Marina's killed and after Shizuka goes off searching for Chappie. Like that's when all this happens. And I'm saying that because like as an anime watcher, so I didn't read the manga, but when you watch the anime, it's actually a little bit confusing when all of this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So this
So
conversation is happening the after this conversation is happening after Takopi got the crap beaten out of him by Shizuka when Shizuka was looking for Chappie.
yeah. So one of the reasons I think that she killed him and then some magic happy item reset him back to his original location is that there is a panel. You do see the seasons pass as he's just kind of sitting there like contemplating life. And then you also find out in the news that the two girls from that that were from the Tokyo apartment are missing, presumably because Shizuka kidnapped them and cut their bellies open.
See, I don't know. I don't know that I don't think that Taco P ever died or that there was or that he died and was reset. I think that Shizuka beat the crap out of him so much that it jogged his memory. Like that's what I think happened.
Regardless, he had to show up with Ozma, so time passes, it seems, and then he finally encounters Shizuka again. So this is the end of chapter 14, and then chapter 15 is Shizuka-chan before the final chapter. So there's a little bit more stuff to talk about.
For this contemplation. Or jog my memory. Remind me.
Yeah. So he has this conversation with Azuma. Then he finds Shizuka. So they have a really good moment where she's like, "Hey, get out of the way! I'm still looking for Chappie. I'm gonna cut open the bellies of the people at the animal shelter." And Takopi's still, in this like hopeful part of like, hey, if you do that, the animal shelter people will be sad, not the whole like, oh, they'll die, so maybe don't do that. But Shizuka starts becoming like abusive again, and at the end of the day, her like anger is sort of just justified of like losing a precious family member, but Takobi finally sort of grows up and finds that he doesn't know what what to do, and they have like a really sweet moment where they just hold each other and are sad and spend time together. And this is the section that gets really expanded upon in the anime because it's just a
Right.
page essentially.
So this is one of those moments where the director of the anime took probably a little bit of liberty so that we can sit in this moment a little bit longer in the anime because this is a very, I think, vulnerable moment for Shizuka because like she's laying all of these things out to Takopi where she's saying like I have no one cares about me. What could I have done different or what should I have done different? Like and Takopi doesn't have any answers. Like no answers at all. Can't make her feel better. Can't say that there was a better decision that could have been made at some point, but just commiserates with her because Takopi is, like you said, realizing the complexity of like morality, I guess. Because it's sort of just like I don't know, one of the questions that came up for me was is it ever okay to murder? Like if you've gone through this in life, is it ever okay to murder? And again, this is also a fourth grader, you know? So she's like 10, 11, maybe 12 because we're talking like it's after the summer because time has passed, like maybe 12. But this is a young kid grappling with all of these things and in this moment, like the vulnerability of this moment is she's genuinely asking Takopi, what should I have done? Like, I don't know. I need someone because I don't have parents. I don't have anyone that cares about me. And it's just it's such a beautiful moment because I mean, who among us can't relate to this?
Yeah. So they get to spend the last day together, and then Taco P remembers that there's one more function of the happy camera. He can utilize the rest of his happy power and essentially die, and sacrifice himself to reset the timeline one more time and make sure that everyone like finds their own happiness.
what happens after that moment, so after Takopi sacrifices himself and resets the timeline one more time, he goes back to the point after the big clock, right? So he goes back to the
No, no,
point
no,
of
no.
the
So
picture,
the time point is seems to be when he took the photo,
which would
but
be
there
after he used the big clock.
correct. But so there was time that they spent together, but the particular memories are sort of faded for everyone, the three main characters involved. Like they remember that Shizuka was wearing a chameleon flower, but they don't necessarily remember like why, or like other people don't remember her wearing chameleon flower, for example.
Yeah, they're left with this inkling, and this is actually something that
Oh,
we
and
should
because we're keeping track, one more reset,
one more reset.
and
Um,
that and sort of that reset ends chapter 15, the final chapter to all of you in 2026. We follow back the timeline. It sort of resets. Not Shizuka is still getting bullied, but as Marina's bullying Shizuka, like her notebook flies out, and they both see a picture of Takopi.
And it's in that moment when they see that picture of Takopi where we find out that they have an inkling of familiarity with the like hieroglyphic or depiction of Takopi, but they can't place it. But they also have this moment where they both realize that they're having the same recollection. So it sort of suggests that even though the timeline has been continually reset, there is something buried in their consciousness about Takopi. Like there's a
I
familiarity.
disagree entirely with that. I mean, yes, I agree that they like have some like recollection of Takopi somewhere deep inside, but truthfully, the picture of Takopi is only there so that they can talk to each other for the first time about something that's not about hating each other, which sort of ties back the whole theme of like, hey, all you have to do is talk.
I agree, but why would a random picture that you don't have any connection to um, sort of inspire that?
Well,
It
it's like they recognize the photo, but they don't. They're just a part of it is just like, oh, it's like a memory of a memory essentially at this point.
right. It's a very, I think, um, distant, unplaceable familiarity that they both share. Um, and it seemed, at least my interpretation of it is that it seems to be that they have this very, very distant recollection or familiarity with this character, and that creates a bridge for them to connect. And I think that that's sort of the commentary at the end. Like now that we're at the end, I feel like we can very briefly talk about it before
Oh,
we take.
before we move on to the 20 back to 2022, Ozma's suddenly popular because he had his inkling of like, hey, I should talk to my brother more, and then as he talked to people in class, he's like, oh, he made friends, and they're like, oh, you have a PlayStation 4. Let's all hang out because now you're the cool kid with a PlayStation 4.
Maxima, like, probably has the happiest ending of the three of them. But going back to what I was saying before, so there's this bridge. So her notebook falls out because this, I think, this is a very powerful moment. And we can definitely get into it and talk about it because I think that there's a lot sort of wrapped up in this very brief moment where they see the drawing of Taco P, and they both have a connection to this drawing. And we can definitely discuss like what that connection is, but they both have this connection and that creates a bridge between them to be able to talk and work through things. And they both break down sobbing because they don't even understand their own emotions. And I think that it's just a very powerful moment of, you know what? I'm actually going to bench that for when we're actually talking about themes and takeaways from the series. So, um, we'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that because I have thoughts on it.
So we end the series with a sort of time skip where we see, oh, Chappie's still alive. The two girls are like talking. They see the pen and they're like, oh, it's a Saturn rabbit. Another one of the like callbacks to the Happy Gadget. So the memory is somewhere deep inside. It's just not surface. But we see that they have grown up. Things have worked out somewhat. Like we still see that Marina has a scar on her face. So like things aren't perfect, but no one seem for the most part things are better.
Commentary at the end is because they're jesting with each other. They're sort of making fun of how messed up each other's lives are, which I think is a powerful commentary. Because Marina is like sort of poking fun at the fact that Shizuka's mom's an escort, and Shizuka is poking fun that Marina's mom is schizophrenic, and they're sort of like good friends. Um, and they're good friends despite how messed up their lives are.
Yeah. So it it turns out Takopi was right. If they had talked to each other, things would have worked out better. But given their lives, there was just no way that they were gonna be able to talk without some intervention, and
Yeah,
that's the drawing.
I definitely think that this gets into commentary about whether or not Takopi was right. So, what we'll do is we'll take one more quick break and we'll come back and Eric and I will discuss what our takeaway thoughts from the series are. Also, yeah,
Hey
okay.
guy, fuck you.
Hey, guy, fuck you.
Hey guy, relax, buddy. Hey
Hey,
buddy,
guys,
relax.
so
Hey
we're
guy.
back.
Hey, I'm not your buddy, guy. Hey buddy, I'm not your guy.
So, we just wanted to tackle some themes, some thoughts, some takeaways from the series because it's some heavy stuff. And I walked away with some
It's
thoughts.
it's good having a heavy series every once in a while.
It could be a little bit more often than it is. But yes, I think that both are important. I think we need heavy series and we need lighthearted series. So,
Yeah.
what are some of your
Luckily, this was a pretty short series, so we could go episode depth in depth, episode by episode. There's just no way we could have done this with like a larger series like Naruto.
yeah, be episode in the sense that we were able to go episode by episode and discuss things a little bit more in detail. What we're about to do, which is provide our thoughts and commentary on it, will be a little bit closer to what our typical episodes are going to be like, where we talk about more overarching themes and personal thoughts and takeaways.
Yeah, so like for this particular series, it's great having the younger characters deal with such heavy information because you sort of like almost put yourself out of it where because they're so young and the material's so heavy, it's just sort of creates this juxtaposition where it's taken so much more seriously because it's coming out of their mouths. And then having Takopi as a foil, like we already talked about, it's sort of like the audience's driving force. It sort of grounds the audience almost.
I think is not working. Oh, there we go. Is it
There you
working
go.
now?
You're
Can you
working.
hear
You're
me?
working. You're working.
Tech difficulties, everybody. No worries. Okay.
All the
Um,
worries.
all the worries. So, let's dive into it. So, I'm going to talk, me personally, since we were kind of talking about it already as we got to the end of episode 6. I do want to talk about the moment when they do see that um drawing of Takopi because whether that is just a catalyst for them to start talking, or whether there's something deeper about it, meaning some deep buried memory that they can't really recall and is hazy and foggy. I do think that the commentary that the series tries to make is because like I was talking about how Takopi has a whole thing about if you just talk, things will get better. If you talk, you'll be able to solve your problems. And I actually somewhat disagree with this premise because the thing that made them talk is Takopi to some degree. So
Well,
whatever degree you think
it's
that is,
it was finding something in common. It's like, hey, we both find this little guy annoying, and like finding that commonality starts that conversation for them.
but like my point, or at least for me, in my lived experience, my question that I'm left with is, would there have been a way for Shizuka and Marina to find a point of commonality without Taco P? And
I do not think so, only because at the point that we see them in 2022 the first time, Takopi has very little intervention. The only thing that Takopi really causes is technically Marina and Ozma to start dating.
wait, so
But
you're
all the conflicts that of 2016 had happened, whether Takopi was there or not. They just went to more extremes where Chappie dies, Shizuka tries to kill herself, and then gets sent away.
your perspective is that if Taco P were not existent, then they wouldn't have been able to find a bridge to make a connection.
Correct.
I largely agree, and I think that that's actually somewhat damning in terms of the series at large, because essentially the walkaway commentary from that is that without some sort of exterior force, then our problems are doomed to be unsolved.
Well, it's or you find a commonality to try to start a conversation about them, because the whole point of Takopi isn't to fix their problems; it's to sort of let give them the means to solve it themselves. Because without Takopi, I think the timeline still ends up pretty similar, where Marina kills herself after killing her mom. Um, with Takopi's intervention, just the catalyst to start the conversation. That's all it took for the timeline to be fixed, where Shizuka doesn't kill herself, Chappie isn't taken away, Marina's mom is still a bit of a schizo, but at least she has a friend. Whereas before, in the original 2022, she was a total loner.
Sure, I understand the perspective because the timeline is decidedly entirely different when Taco P gets involved.
The When you say, we need to define how you're defining when Takopi is getting involved, because the original 2022 one, Takopi is not is shows up as our sort of like guide to the storyline. He doesn't do as much in that storyline as he did in 2016.
I think he does well. That's an interesting point because it is true that we don't actually see all that much of that timeline. Um, so I'm
At
not.
least from what we see, Marina is very resistant to anything Takovic is trying to do with her.
So is the argument that Taco P is entirely unsuccessful with Marina, and that's why he
Yes,
goes back because he feels that the only way that he can help Marina is by going back and killing Shizuka?
correct.
That's an interesting perspective. And so you're saying that if Taco P had never gotten involved, meaning the timeline progresses to 2020, or as per the original timeline before Takopi lands, and Takopi doesn't land, then the timeline continues to progress normally. Azuma sees Shizuka, breaks up with Marina, and then Marina kills herself.
Correct.
Interesting.
Whereas with the new updated timeline, Takopi sort of has an influence on 2016, catalyzing Marina and Shizuka's conversation so that they at least grow up with friends and not enemies. Shizuka is no longer bullied as hard. Chappie isn't taken away, so she has her family member as comfort. Marina has someone that she can like have as on her side. Some bad things happen still, like Marina's face getting scarred by a broken glass. Uh, but at least they grow up and they're friends versus before in 2022, Marina was just a loner by herself.
I see that. Um, I revise my stance. I still think that in order for the bridge between Shizuka and Marina to have been formed, meaning for there to have been a catalyst that changes the 2020 or the 2022 timeline in the 2016 timeline, all of that stuff would have still had to happen, if that makes sense.
Can you elaborate?
So in in the scenario where Taco P is never involved, Marina kills herself.
Yes.
When Taco P is involved, he has little effect in the 2022 timeline, but goes back and has tremendous effect on the 2016 timeline, which results in a whole bunch of really bad things, including Marina being murdered.
Yes.
Um, in order for there to be the catalyst, meaning the drawing of Takopi on the notebook that spurs the connection between Marina and Shizuka, in order for that to be there, there has to be this sort of deep forgotten memory of Takopi. So the only way that they have a connection is by Takopi intervening.
Yes, but it's one of those weird things where after the final reset, it resets without Taco P. The only real like influence he has is that there's like because they have like some weird memories. It's almost like an imaginary friend scenario where they remember weird things like Saturn dogs, but they don't remember why they both know it. They just think, oh, this person's quirky like me. I have that commonality with them.
Necessarily disagree with the imaginary friends analogy, but Taco P, from the audience's perspective, is not an imaginary friend. He has real world effect.
Yes, but if theoretically he never exists, is there a difference between someone real and imaginary? If in a particular timeline they just don't their existence is not there.
I don't I don't think that it ultimately matters because I
I
agree
think
with
we
you
are
that in
arguing semantics here, but
well, I
it
don't know. I don't know that it's semantics because I agree with you that in 2022, if Taco P doesn't get involved, 2022 plays out where Marina commits suicide.
yeah.
In the 2016 timeline, the only way that the notebook with the Takopi drawing works is decidedly because Takopi gets involved. It creates a way for them to connect. So if
Yes, but
Takopi
that's
never gets
I
involved,
think you're focusing too much on this, and it's more it's a sort of way the for the two characters to essentially interact. Like, yeah, he's like there, but he's not necessarily a his presence is there, but it's not. He's no longer there to be exact.
I agree with you, but as an audience member, my takeaway like at the end of the series is that like as an outside observer looking at this situation, my takeaway is I feel like our problems, generally speaking, in life are unsolvable without some sort of exterior force. That's the point that I'm making, because the
Well,
only
if
way
you
that their issues are fixed.
go back to Takopi's conversation with Ozma, like, sometimes, and Shizuka, like, sometimes you don't have the answer. Like, you just have to figure it out. There doesn't need to be like an outside influence. There's like just sometimes there's just not an answer, and you just have to like try your best to talk about things and argue with people, and that's the only way you're going to be able to solve it.
I don't disagree with that premise, but my feeling at the end of the series is that Marina and Shizuka would not have ever talked without this catalyst that inspires them to talk, and
Yeah,
that doesn't happen without
that's
Takopi's influence.
that's a result of their particular circumstances, though. Like, there's no way Marina was ever gonna try to talk to Shizuka when her mom is like always blasting Shizuka's mom and Shizuka for existing because their dad's a whoremonger.
But the series tries to tackle these types of topics, and because I did a lot of reading of articles, sort of breaking down the themes and the grittiness of this. And there's a lot of articles that talk about how relatable this is and how real it is. And my personal quandary, because this also has phenomenal reviews, like almost across the board, everyone loves this series. I think it has like a 4.9 out of 5. And I struggle with the duality of that, because on the one hand, everybody is identifying with this and they praise it for how real it is. But on the flip side, the takeaway, in my opinion, is that without some exterior factor to help you solve your problems, there is no solution to your problems.
I think you're taking it too literally. So replace Takopi with like a song that you hear on the radio, um, an artist that you like a painting that you really adore. It's Replace Takopi with any of those, and then you end up with the same scenario where, oh, they have this commonality where they can finally identify with each other. It's that sort of recognition that the other person is human, almost, that prevents the original timeline, because you realize, oh wait, this is a person. This isn't just like some scum child of a whore who's trying to take my dad away. This is
No,
just
I agree with you that you can substitute anything in for Takopi, but the reality is that that's whatever you substitute in for Takopi is still an exterior factor. And we've
well
already
that
established that.
that's how people work. You're not going to relate to someone who's just there. You can't just like I think one of the greatest insults you have ever graced someone with was, "You are the most ordinary person I have ever met."
Yeah, I did say that.
Did you ever see yourself engaging with that person ever again? No, because they are the most blank slated person you've ever met. There has to be some point of commonality to start a conversation, and that's the use of Takopi in this case.
I agree, but again, that's for
You
me,
have you
that's
have to
like
have you have to have an external force before, and it's just basic physics. Like, object at rest stays at rest. You have to have some force to move in a direction. I don't know why you're so tied up with how it feels wrong that all of our problems have need some external force, because that's just how the reality of it.
something feels wrong. I like for me, I read an article of where the director was talking about how the series, or at least the way that they were trying to frame the series, was an arc of redemption, which I mean, who am I to argue with the director and their vision? I don't necessarily think that they achieved that though, because at the end, if if the statement that's made is that an exterior force is required in order for you to tackle these things. Well, if I'm in Shizuka's position, like me, Morgan, in real life, if I'm in Shizuka's position, then I have no hope. I have no way of solving my problem because I can't happenstance into an exterior factor that allows me this bridge. It's like kind of depressing. It's kind of a depressing thought. And that's kind of like what I was left with at the end of the series, which is I think that this is beautiful. I think that this is an amazing thing that was able to happen for Shizuka and Marina, but it's not, that part is not realistic.
I think that you're being really dumb about this, where you're getting too tied up in the fact that it's an external force when external forces are just inevitable. Like, you have to have some form of commonality. Like, you can't have a conversation where one person's talking about A and the other person is talking about Y.
How do you feel about the conclusion of the series then?
I think it's great. Like, it reflects sort of like that opening that we have in the first episode and chapter where, oh, these two girls they're at ends with each other, but as Takopi kept going through about in the series, like, let's just talk about it, let's try to solve our problems together. Where, yeah, there's still problems. They're not like perfect. They're still like, calling each other out, but hey, it seems like at least in this case where they had that point of commonality, they could just kind of grow as people. Because we see their two personalities in the short time skip where they're not one to one to who they used to be, but they are slightly different. Like, their personalities are just a little bit uh, different from what we previously saw. Where Shizuka in the 2016 timeline was just sociopathic, and Marina was just a total loner
I
and
mean,
just treating everyone around her badly.
yeah, I agree that they're definitely different. I don't know. I guess I am just stuck on the why
Yeah,
because
I
I
think one
I
of the things
personally
that is really good that they sort of address is that I Takopi in his conversation with Shizuka is like, I don't know why, I don't know how, I just want you to be happy, and then Takopi sacrifices himself for that happiness. Like, is it a little? It. I mean, the series has Deus Ex Machina built it. Like, there's no denying it. Like, obviously, Takopi is a driving force for the series. But without Takopi, there's not much of a series. We have the first episode slash chapter where Marina bullies Shizuka. Shizuka kills herself. Then then in that original timeline, she moves away, comes back, Marina kills herself, end the story. You need to have some form of driving force for a story.
no, you're to be some driving force for the story. I think that my takeaway, I guess, was just more depressing than everybody else's, I suppose.
Yeah, because you're a depressing person, and this is why you can't make friends, and you're stuck with me.
When what does that say about you, Eric?
I'm depressing and sad too. Don't start this shit fight.
Um, I would be curious to hear what all of you guys think. Am I being overly pessimistic and
Yes,
dramatic and
yes,
depressing,
yes,
or is Eric right?
yes.
Let us know in the comments below, and comment, subscribe,
Can we do something
follow
fun
our
next
dumbasses.
episode? Can we please do something more fun?
Yeah, let us know what you'd like us to review next.
Uh, please.
It's funny because he's the one sighing and I'm the depressing one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're the one dragging me down.
Oh, why? Because I feel pretty good about myself right now.
I bet you do.
Um, cool. Well, that's all we really have for today.
All
We
right.
don't have
Well, that
a
was the,
formal sign off.
that's the first brick in our step in our journey on the road to waifu. Have a good one.
See you guys next time.
Bye.